have a roll call?
All right, we're going to go ahead and start. It's 5:30. Tom Adams.
Here.
Vo Amuve.
Here.
Lillian Perez Avila. Karen Chapman.
Here.
Eddie Flores.
Present.
Jacqueline Faust. Currently absent. Roseanne Faust.
Here.
Lynette Garcia is absent. Mark Hayesloop.
Here.
Okay, Nathan Healy. Dana Johnson. Currently absent. Daniela Jonditude. Currently absent. Julie Lind.
Here.
Monica Mija.
Here.
And Ileana Rodriguez is absent. George Smith. Kathleen Wheeler.
Here.
Kimberly Wu.
Here.
Thank you. And for a total of 13 present at the moment.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to inform the committee, some of you were copied on the email, but Jim Lawrence has resigned his position on the committee. So I sent him an email thanking him for being willing to serve and, you know, wishing him the best always. So we now have an 18-member body. The applicable, we still need 10 members to move any item to the Board of Supervisors. And then in terms of the items tonight, it's a majority of those present. So depending on how that shapes out when we're at that point in the agenda, then I'll get you the numbers. So thank you everyone for all the work being done. First item on the agenda, or second item, is the approval of the February 3rd minutes. I'd like to call out just thank you very much to Kim and the team for the minutes. They were extremely thorough. I will need a motion in a second, and then any adjustments or comments to that. Approval. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, George. Any issues with the minutes as presented? And I'm looking at those online. I do not see any hands raised. So we will again call for a roll call, please.
One moment, let me just promote a few people that have just joined. We now have Daniela and Dana Johnson.
Great, thank you. And
Jacqueline Faust.
And Jacqueline Faust. And one thing to note, Brian, if I know this question comes up in other committees, if someone was absent for the meeting that the minutes are being approved on, some policy is that as long as they've been read by the person attending, it's a personal choice. They can choose to approve them, or if they're not there, would you prefer that they abstain?
Madam Chair, I think it's generally most appropriate just to abstain if they weren't present, unless they went back and observed the entire proceedings.
Okay, so everyone clear on that? The attorney feels for those not present to abstain if you weren't here. So now we'll go to a roll call.
All right, Tom Adams.
Yes.
Vo Amuve.
Yes.
Lillian Perez Avila. Karen Chapman.
Yes.
Eddie Flores.
Yes.
Jacqueline Faust.
Yes.
Roseanne Faust.
Yes.
Lynette Garcia is currently absent. Mark Hayesloop. Nathan Healy. Abstaining. Okay, Dana Johnson. We may have, let me just make sure Dana is a panelist. I think she dropped off. Dana, we're voting on the minutes right now.
This is Dan, and I'm here. I was unable to.
Dana,
Yes.
are you
When you go there, the also will be loud.
on the minutes?
But there's 4 dishwashing. Yes, I am. I was at the last one.
Thank you. So it's an aye.
Yes, it's an aye.
Okay, thank you. And Dana, I know that you'll be dropping off about 6:15.
Correct.
Okay.
Sorry. We're
Thank you for
cruising.
letting us know.
No worries.
All right, next is Daniela Jonditude.
Someone has their hand
Hand
up
raised, yeah.
in the attend.
Yep, she's back. I think she dropped off as well. All right, Daniela. Hi, Daniela. We're voting on the minutes right now.
I know. I was just not a panelist. So, yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Julie Lind,
Aye.
Monica Mija,
Yes.
Ileana Rodriguez is absent. George Smith, Kathleen Wheeler,
Yes.
and Kimberly Wu.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. So we are moving on to general public comment, and this is for any item that is not on the agenda this evening. There is no hands raised, no one online's hand is up, so I am going to move to item number 4, and I will turn it over to Brian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, commissioners. I have just two pieces of information for you. I will be brief. The first, I received a question last week asking when the elections function or when the clerk had been assigned the title of elections officer. And so I just wanted to provide some additional information to you on that. The clerk by statute is responsible for administering the elections that take place in the county. And so that is a function that has always been part of the office of the clerk. In 1993, the office of the clerk was consolidated by vote of the electorate with the office of assessor. And so that was an amendment to the county charter in 1993 that consolidated the clerk with the assessor. And that is how we ended up with one elected position that includes the chief elections official as part of that office. Separately,
Sorry. Okay. Kathleen, it's hard to hear Roseanne online. Is her mic on? Yep. That was Brian talking. So Kathleen, did you hear Brian?
Yes, I can hear
Okay.
Brian, and now I can hear you.
Okay. I will I will hold the microphone closer. So thank you, Kathleen.
Okay, sorry, thanks.
so that was item 1. Item 2 was I wanted to inform you that after the last meeting, I received some additional information on a supervisor recommendation. So there was a recommendation that came from Supervisor Mueller regarding whether to amend the charter to potentially change the or provide an additional title to the board president in order to give them sort of more influence, more stature when interacting with regional partners. I was asked prior to the last meeting to look into what other county charters do with respect to identifying their presiding officer. And so I reported to you that county charters refer to the presiding officer either as chair or as president. And that is accurate. However, I was given some additional information on this suggestion from the supervisor that I wanted to share with you. There is at least one county, so the county of Los Angeles, in their ordinances, they do refer to their presiding officer as both chair and mayor. And so there is precedent in practice for at least one county to use the title mayor in referring to their presiding officer. Again, that's done in ordinance, not through the charter. But my understanding is that the supervisor felt that this was important enough for your body to consider it as a suggestion. And so I wanted to share that with you and also to let you know that the agenda is broadly worded tonight, that should anyone want to revisit any of the supervisor's suggestions, not just that one, or it could be any of the other ones that were not previously moved. If you wanted to do that, the agenda would provide for it. And if there are no questions, I'm all done, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for what Brian just reported? So tonight, I'm not seeing any. I don't see any hands up. So Tonight, we have 4 recommendations from 3 committee members, and that we will have each of them present for potential action to move to a study phase or a subcommittee. We have 5 existing subcommittees, so we have 4 additional recommendations. And then if there was any one member of the charter review that would like to revisit the 4 previously suggested Board of Supervisor recommendations that we had addressed at our last meeting, you can do so. So I just want to repeat that. So we're gonna start with the committee member recommendations, and they're here in hard copy. They were emailed out to everyone last Friday, so everyone has had a chance to review. I'm gonna turn it to committee member Karen Chapman. She has 2 issues, and we'll do the same thing that we did at the last meeting. We will have each of the committee members bringing forth ideas, present their ideas, and then we'll go back and see if there is a motion and a second to move it to study, to create an additional committees. And I'm using that plural. So, Karen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So these are 2 recommendations from the environmental groups that I've been in touch with. There are still a number of them that I'm hoping to hear from. So I'm really hoping that this evening that members will consider having these items moved on to a subcommittee for evaluation. I just think they deserve a little bit more time. The first one is prioritizing addressing environmental threats. And in a review of the charter, really the only reference to environment is in the brief preamble. So the first recommendation would be considering climate, add language in the charter, which could be determined by the subcommittee, underscoring a county priority should be to formulate policies and programs providing additional long-term resilience against the growing threats of fire, flood, wind, drought, and sea level rise. As much as possible, these policies and programs should be developed with cities, districts, and other public entities in the county. So that's the first recommendation, and hoping to have these separate in terms of a vote potentially. Okay, great. And then the second item recommendation is just, I think it's an ongoing issue and it has been for the county, that there's no dedicated funding for county parks. And our neighbors to the south, Santa Clara County, in their charter on page 20, they have a dedicated source of funding for their parks. The idea would be to essentially have a subcommittee take a look at that and determine if that's something that would be smart to do for our parks. So that's my presentation. Thank you for listening.
And if everyone could go closer to the mic, I just noticed online someone had brought it up. So thank you, Karen. So those are 2 separate recommendations, and we will come back because I will now move to committee member George Smith, who has a proposal.
Yes, I hope everyone had an opportunity to go through this. Basically, what we're trying to do is I'm trying to educate the non-veteran citizenship about the Veterans Service Office and veterans in our community. We have well over, I think the last count was 27,000 veterans in San Mateo County. And the majority of those, I think we identified maybe 12 or 13,000, and that leaves another 12 or 14,000 that have not been identified. These are veterans that can be homeless. They are veterans that can be, just not knowing, like most of the citizenship does not know. Basically, what I would like to do is I'd like to have a subcommittee look at it and put something in our charter that would allow a veteran to go, if they're going through the charter, just to click on it or to go to a website that would send them to the Veteran Service Office so that we can get them in the system so that they can receive the benefits that they've earned. Thank you.
Thank you very much, George. Do any of the committee, anyone in the room or online, have questions for George?
I don't have a question, sorry.
Yes, Daniela, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. So I don't have a question, but I totally agree with George. I think that veterans are a very important part of our community and the reason why we have a free country. And I personally have seen downgraded the level of opportunities and services that they have access to in the last 5 years. It's been down to a lot. Like, for example, in the type of home care services, they went from 63 hours a week to only 20 hours a week, meaning that community members that are recipients of IHSS receiving more hours than our veterans nowadays, which is pretty sad to see because they fought for our country and we're not being reciprocating the services that they provided to us. So that's a very big concern for me, and it creates also the main reason why we have so many homeless in our community, which shouldn't be the reason for our veterans. So I think that's a very noble thing to look into. Thank you, George.
Thank you, Daniela. And I see that committee member Eddie Flores has his hand up. Eddie?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the sentiment of the author. Like Daniela said, this is very important issue. As we know, this is multifactorial, and this is a constituency that needs all the support and resources. However, I'm kind of leaning towards this being more operational, in the sense that if we want veterans or those that are identifying or serving in our armed forces to have closer availability to county resources and connect them that way, I think this could be communicated directly from the office of the county executive and perhaps the office, the communications team with the county, in terms of what you were alluding to, having a central point on a website. I don't know that veterans will look for a charter document to lead them to veterans resources. I'm not sure if that's what you're referring or if I understood that correctly, but I find that if we want visibility and availability of resources, this could be more a practical issue that could be resolved rather more expeditiously than having to go through a ballot, and all the procedure on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. I'm not seeing any other comments, questions on those items, the first three. So I'm going to turn it over to committee member Daniela to bring forth her committee recommendation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm so sorry. I have horrible allergies. So this recommendation came in light of all the recommendations that we've been seeing that pertain to commissions and boards of San Mateo County and the lack of support that we receive, or things could improve within these commissions and boards to bring better understandings and better opportunities and advocate opportunities to our community. So it talks about reviewing 414, section 414, boards and commissions. It is actually pretty broad. Like, it doesn't give a lot of information into what a board and commission should do. And I did bring this to our people on the office, in San Mateo office, Lina, Rocio, and legal. And I was given the manual for San Mateo County Board and Commissions, and I reviewed and read through it. It's a few of the things really turn a red flag on me, and I know this could be fixed within that document. But for example, bylaws are pretty broad. It says you can either choose to have bylaws or not to have bylaws, and it's really difficult to follow a path and a structure if we don't have a structure within an organization as a commission. And I think that's where this comes from looking to address the needs of several proposals that were brought to here, like the LGBTQ, environmental, veterans, seniors, like giving more structure to our boards and commission could potentially help us create more structure within these commissions and make sure that they fulfill their goals.
Thank you, Daniela. Does anyone have any questions for Daniela on this? Is there any additional information that our team would want to provide, or we just want to always give an opportunity?
Through the chair.
Yes, Eddie?
Yeah, I wanted just to clarify, Daniela, are you saying then a revision of the commission's manual? Is that what you're looking for to be incorporated into the charter, or are you looking for the charter to give direction to the commission's manual?
Thank you, Eddie. So I think that it has to be decided within the subcommittee, but as far as I spoke with Lena about it as well, and I think that at least a revision of this opportunity of how either we can suggest and give guidance to the board of supervisors, either through a letter saying perhaps it needs to revisit this handbook, or we giving guidelines for these handbooks to be created. Because as a public servant in one of these commissions, it's really concerning that we're not following our own guidelines. And I don't want to create more problems, but I think it's a good idea to revisit and make sure that we're doing the best for our community. And if it pertains to charter, leave it in charter, or if it pertains to just a recommendation to the handbook, move it through a recommendation through the handbook. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So, Rocio, was there anything?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only thing I was going to reference, and it has already been referenced, is that we do have a boards and commissions handbook, as was noted. And if there are any suggested changes to the handbook, we're happy to take a look at those, whether it's, depending on how your committee votes. But certainly offline, we're happy to take a look at it and happy to meet and to discuss. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rocio. So I'm going to go back, and now we're going to look at the 4 options that were presented by committee members to see where they go with the group. And then at the end of that, I'll ask one more call if there's any committee member that wants to revisit any of the items that didn't move forward from the Board of Supervisors. So we will go back to item number 1 from committee member Chapman, and this is prioritizing addressing environmental threats. So I'm sorry. Oh,
Very sorry to interrupt.
no.
If we could just have the record reflect that that there is no public comment before we move on to deliberations.
Thank you.
Thank
I need a really big, like, red piece on my agenda that says, remember, public comment. I think I'll stamp it on my forehead next time. Any public comment? I'm not seeing any, and I'm not seeing any here. Thank you, Brian. Please keep reminding me. Okay, so back to item 1, a recommendation for a subcommittee study. And the recommendation is to add language in the charter to be determined by the subcommittee, underscoring a county priority should be to formulate policies and programs providing additional long-term resilience against the growing threats from fire, flood, wind, drought, and sea level rise. And there's a little bit more, but that's the gist of it. So I would need a motion and a second. I see Tom's hand up.
I'm willing to move approval, but I'd like to address the issue if I could.
So we have a motion, and then I need a second. Okay, Karen will second. Tom?
I mean, we live in a very difficult time. There's a lot of.
Tom, they're straining to hear you.
we live in a very difficult time. There's a lot of very serious issues addressing our country and us locally here. But even though it's not in the press as often, climate change is the transcendent issue of our time. It's unfortunately the case that the best way of addressing this issue, which is to reduce emissions, has so far not been effective. I mean, some changes have been made, but we have already passed one so-called tipping point where the planet has increased in temperature by 1.5 degrees. And we're headed rapidly towards passing the second tipping point, which is when the planet gets hotter than 2 degrees above historical levels. These are tipping points. Once you go past them, you can't go back. And that leaves us with continuing increases in extreme weather conditions. And providing resilience for extreme weather conditions is going to fall to a very large extent to local government. It's going to affect building codes, public infrastructure, emergency services. And in that regard, I just would like to give a short personal story. My wife and I live in the Burlingame Hills, which is kind of a little unincorporated area tucked between Hillsborough and Burlingame up towards 280. In December of 2023, I didn't know it at the time, but the National Weather Service issued a warning that there was a peculiar formation of wind in the Pacific just off the San Mateo coast. Minutes later, our house was hit with an enormous thud. It was like an earthquake, only it was a single huge thud. When we looked out the window, a 80, 100-foot tree that was in our front yard with a 5-foot trunk had blown over. It hadn't broken. The wind was so strong that it blew the root ball and the tree over. Our whole neighborhood was filled with fallen trees. There were redwood trees blocking the street downhill from us. They were so big and so tall that they were there for a couple of weeks before people could clear the street. The street next to us had 5 enormous trees blown over in the middle of the street. They took down the power lines, and it was several days before the people on that street could get power. Hillside Drive, which is the major collector for our area, had 2 huge trees blow down and block the hillside, and those trees were unable to be removed by the county for 3 days. So the storm didn't affect a large area. It just affected like 3 or 4 blocks within the Burlingame Hills area. By the time the wind got downhill and fanned out to where it got to the airport clocked it at 83 miles per hour. And the airport graph only goes to 80 miles an hour. In order to record this, they had to add a new line to the graph. Now, we were lucky that there wasn't any severe damage to houses. There was some, but it wasn't serious. And there wasn't any loss of life or serious injury. But during that period of time, although I think you probably could have gotten an emergency vehicle in there somehow if you had to, the access of emergency services was, practically non-existent. So that, we were told, was an absolutely unprecedented event in the 100 years or so that there are records from this area. 13 months later, there was the fire in Palisades in Los Angeles. And it had 80-mile-an-hour winds, 24,000 acres. The fire that consumed that was a wind-driven fire. And as many of these dangerous fires that we now face are. So the problem with the extreme weather is that it's getting worse and it's not going to change. FEMA keeps records from its disaster relief fund of incidents that cost over $1 billion a year. And I have these records here. From 2000 to 2009, the average, there were 6.7 incidents a year that cost FEMA's disaster fund more than $1 billion. 6.7. By the 2010, that had risen from 6.7 a year to 13 a year. In 1 decade, it had doubled. In 2020 to 24, it's gone up to 23 events a year. From the 2000s to 2024, which actually had itself 27 separate disasters over $1 billion, there's been a quadrupling of billion-dollar disasters in the United States for which the FEMA Disaster Relief Fund had some authority. So, and you know, San Mateo County, I mean, we're a really good county. We have pretty open attitudes, and the Board of Supervisors currently recognizes that resilience is a key issue for local government, and they themselves want to prioritize this issue. But it's also an issue that's not going to last for this Board of Supervisors. We're looking at the need to pursue resilience for the next probably 20 or 30 or maybe 50 years. It's almost as permanent an issue in our future as the charter has been in every other respect. There's no language in the charter currently that says that there should be a policy like this. And I don't think that a statement in the charter that was regulatory or seemed to impose any legal obligations would be appropriate. I think in the charter, though, to have a statement of policy that over the coming decades, this serious issue should be given a priority, and that the Board of Supervisors knows that the voters have their back when they take the hard actions that are going to be necessary to address this issue. In my mind, this is an issue of a duration and importance that at least it deserves a statement that it is a priority in the charter. And for that reason, I have moved this motion.
Thank you very much, Tom, and Karen for seconding it. Is there anyone else? And I really ask those in the room to please hold the microphone or pull it as close to your voice as possible so that those online can hear it. And I see that Eddie Flores has his hand up, and then Mark, okay, I saw Mark, his light went on.
Great.
Eddie,
Thank
do you want to start?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to make a little bit more of emphasis and perhaps provide a little bit more nuance of what we all as cities and including the county, we are doing in terms of the environmental work. Many of you probably have heard, if not, I will encourage you to seek out both online, and these are public meetings. All of these, I want to underscore, are public meetings. So elected officials are on boards for these entities I'm going to mention, but the public is absolutely welcome. The agendas are public. The county has one shoreline, and that is a strong organization that is dealing a lot with sea level rise and really the adamant nature of what that presents itself both within local jurisdictions, bayside communities, as well as coast communities, and elected officials from each one of our cities, as well as Board of Supervisors sit on this group, and many others, right, who review not only federal legislation in terms of resilience, climate resilience, but also are at the forefront. The whole purpose of why One Shoreline was created was for this amazing leadership that it has there. The other board that I want to allude to, which is actually part of their charter, is Energy, Environment, and Climate, and that is CCAG, the City Counties Association of Governments. It's 21 entities, all the 20 cities in San Mateo County, plus a member of the Board of Supervisors. Their charge is to support water energy conservation efforts and improve environmental quality and community resilience to climate change throughout San Mateo County, not just in one city, not just North County or South County. And this is a very elaborate policy driven, both at the Sacramento state level as well as the federal with DC lobbyists. and it's at the forefront. I sit on it representing my city. Like I said, it's a public meeting, public agendas, and there's strategic goal, and there's also subcommittees that are made up of members of the public whose whole initiative, I want to underscore again, is climate and environment and the resilience, improving environmental quality in our community, resilience, and the impact that it has. The third kind of entity that I want to mention is the San Mateo County Emergency Services Council. Again, 20 cities are represented with all the fire chiefs, with all the emergency medical services captains, etc., from each one, the consolidated fire departments as well, and it's chaired by Supervisor Mueller. So these are three entities who are working already on their charter, on their strategic plan, not only for funding, but also for various purposes on this same work. So for limiting of being more efficient and non-redundant, I think these three bodies, again, that are elected, that are open to the public and have a lot of expertise and a lot of great work that has been done, are already outlining these plans and goals. I don't think that a charter will dictate or even connect the dots in any which way. It will probably just likely be a sentence or a few sentences or a paragraph. Whereas these three agencies, that again, it's at the local government in partnership with multiple agencies as well as the Board of Supervisors, is really the vehicle where most of this work in terms of environment and climate work is happening real time here in our county. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. Mark?
Eddie, you said a lot of what I was going to say. Many of these things, especially One Shoreline, the Resiliency Agency, et cetera, already address these things both at the local, city, county levels. One thing in general, in looking at all of these, I go back and I look at the table of contents of the charter. I don't see anywhere in our existing charter where policies are enacted into the charter. The policies are adopted by the Board of Supervisors in their discretion as the elected officials of the county. And I don't know if it's the role of the charter to incorporate at the foundational constitutional level a quote unquote policy. And I think that in any of these, one of the exercises we should do is where in the charter would you put such a proposal? What article? Because I'm looking at the articles. They're powers of the electors, Board of Supervisors, County Manager, Department of Heads, Boards and Commissions, Personnel, Finance, Judiciary, and General. I don't know where you'd put in the adoption of policies per se into the charter. And perhaps Brian has some insight into that, but that's a process question, not really a merits question.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Eddie. I think that is an important point to note, and I'm kind of talking a little bit to give Brian time to get his thoughts together. But I do think, and this is a reminder to each of the 5 existing subcommittees and any additional ones that we may add tonight, is when this goes before the Board of Supervisors, it is in this committee's best interest to be able to identify where in the charter we would put any of the recommendations. And that's just having served twice before, at a minimum, they expect us to actually figure out where we would put it and have the backup information for it. So Brian, I'm gonna.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just confirm that as I presented last week, that generally the powers of the charter have to do with the structure and operation of county government, which is why when you look at the table of contents, it generally addresses those issues. And I would confirm that the San Mateo County Charter does not currently include broad statements of policy. That has not been, at least the board, past boards' prerogative to include that type of statement in the county charter. And so as currently structured and the current logic of the charter, does not provide for broad policy statements. I think that in terms of identifying a location, I think the proposer of this potential amendment had identified the preamble as a potential location. But I would just confirm that you are correct that currently the county charter does not contemplate broad statements of policy, such as the one being proposed.
Karen?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. That would be a question for the subcommittee. And I did actually had some terrific feedback from One Shoreline. They were excited that this was something that we were considering or looking at for the county charter. I think the preamble is an option. You know, we also have in our charter, we've got on page 15, you know, a preference to county products. I mean, you know, this is a group that meets once every 8 years, and I'm not sure when that was put in the charter, that when the combination of price and quality, terms and conditions of sale, or et cetera, you know, preference should be given in purchasing San Mateo County goods, services, and suppliers. Maybe that's a section. There could be an added one, 607. It talks about resiliency. Those would be some suggestions. Again, I think this is it is an existential threat. And I think it is something that is worthy of a subcommittee's review. So thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Tom?
I certainly didn't intend to, and I don't think I did. Is that close enough? Criticize the current efforts that are going on among, you know, many parties in the county. And I think they're to be commended. And you know, I'm proud to live in San Mateo County. I think it's an open, progressive county, and we face reality and work hard, and we have an honest government. But I don't think any of the agencies think that what they have done is enough to address the threats from extreme weather. And I also think that having a vote of the people that this is a priority will put the wind at the back of a lot of these agencies and commissions and cities that are working on this. They'll feel that they have the support of the public in making what are certainly going to be difficult decisions. And, you know, I don't blame anyone for the current situation. We are where we are. But looking forward and trying to guess how bad it's going to get and what we need to do for things that we don't exactly know what they are that are going to happen, but that they're going to be bad. That's a really difficult thing to do. And it's especially difficult to put money into it or spend staff time on it and stuff like that. But yet that's what has to be done. And I think personally, I thought the preamble would be a good place to go. I think it's a statement that this issue is a priority for the county. And the language that Karen has proposed says that the county should work collaboratively with the cities and public districts in San Mateo County, which I certainly think is correct. But I think that we all need to recognize that we're facing a very tough time, and we need to know that we face that time together. And a vote of the people on a policy issue, I think, is the best way to do that.
Okay, Julie?
Also, point of information, excuse me, less so on the suggestion, but more to flag as a reminder for anything. So after this step, going to the board to decide if they want to move forward, if this goes to the ballot, the board does not run field on this. So if this is a priority or it gets put on the ballot, the folks that are championing it need to be prepared to run the campaign to pass it.
Thank you, Julie. So what I'm going to do, I don't see any other questions right now, either online. We have actually 15 members present, so I just recounted. There are 8 in the room and 7 online. We need 8 votes to move it forward. If I'm doing the math correctly. We have 15 total, 8 to move forward.
15. Yeah.
Yes. We had one drop. That's why. So, Brian, I was like doing tabs on my paper. So we have a motion and a second, and now we'll do a roll call, whether this item will go, a committee will be created to study it.
Right. Tom Adams. Vo Amive.
No.
Lillian Perez Avila.
No.
Karen Chapman.
Yes.
Eddie Flores.
No.
Jacqueline Faust.
No, sorry.
Roseanne Faust.
Yes.
Lynette Garcia is absent. Mark Hayesloop.
Yes.
Nathan Healy.
Yes.
Dana Johnson is currently absent. Daniela Jonitude.
This is a hard one, but no.
Okay, Julie Lind.
No.
Monica Mija.
No.
Ileana Rodriguez is absent. George Smith.
Yes.
Kathleen Wheeler.
No.
Kimberly Wu.
Yes.
All right, we have 7.
Okay, so this does not move forward. But I believe there was a very robust discussion. So again, this all gets captured in the minutes, and I would encourage more conversations in other forums because this group was very passionate about it, and it was a tight vote. So moving on to the second item, dedicated funding for county parks. And this is the San Mateo County Parks currently doesn't have a dedicated funding source. Unlike Santa Clara County and other counties, it's historically struggled to address long overdue capital project needs. San Mateo County Parks are collective treasures. I'm trying not to pick and choose because let me just go to this page. Recommendation for subcommittee study. Add language to be determined by subcommittee in the charter, dedicating direct funding for county parks similar to what Santa Clara County has done in its charter. And the charter section for Santa Clara County is referenced here. So I would need a motion and
I'll motion.
Karen has a motion. Do we have a second on this? Second by Tom. So now we will go to discussion. Karen, would you like to discuss any piece of this? Or
I've covered it. I think it's, it is a very important fact that we don't have a dedicated source for our parks. And they're not just parks. I mean, it's associated with this last discussion we had about climate change, et cetera. You don't have to look far in terms of what happened with the CZU fire in Pescadero and the Butte No, and understand that we have fabulous leadership now, a fabulous board and executive that cares. And this is more about future generations and where we will be in 10 years with our parks, depending on what happens with our budget. So this idea is taking a page from our neighbors in Santa Clara County, and so I'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Thank you, Karen. So I think Mark, you had your mic on, and then Julie. I'm looking for the green dots because I can see Mike's. Sorry,
I was the very first chairman of the San Mateo County Parks and Recreation Foundation, which is a non-tax-based fundraising organization for projects in the parks. And we've done a myriad number of projects over the last, I guess it's almost 30 years now. And the foundation exists because there is no dedicated source of funding for the San Mateo County Parks. And I would love to see the Parks Foundation put out of business by a dedicated funding source. And I'll just close with that. In this 30 years, I'm still waiting for a water fountain at the south end of Sawyer Camp Trail.
Thank you, Mark. Julie?
Nothing in the charter has a dedicated funding source, yet all of these departments exist in the county. So there's clearly a vehicle to establish these departments if the will is there. I'm also very reticent to enshrine anything with a funding metric in the charter because we already face budgetary issues and we're a VLF county. If we don't get the VLF money, that's tens of millions of dollars we are out. So this was also a conversation relative to a prior suggestion that had a funding component. So for that reason, I will be voting no.
Are there any other comments from the group? This is also, I did a little research on this on my own to kind of understand sort of Santa Clara and other counties' mechanisms. And I came up with, there's kind of two thoughts that go on in counties that have dedicated funding sources. Either it's great, but it's restrictive and it doesn't allow them to get additional money from things that like, if they go to the county that they have a dedicated funding source and they ask for more money, they're like, no, you already have money, so we're going to help someone else. Then other counties are like, well, no, we can still get money if we want it. So it's a hard one. In last week's meeting, I voted against, 2 weeks ago, anything that enshrined a dedicated funding source because I am very concerned about the finances of the county, and VLF scares me to death. I mean, because I've been working a lot on that with the county. So unfortunately, I would not be supporting this as well, and I just wanted it noted. As much as I love our parks and would also like to put the Park Foundation out of order. There are a few other foundations that I'd love to have more dedicated funding streams for as well, Mark. No, it's there are a number. So we'll call for the vote.
Tom Adams,
Yes.
Vo Amive,
Yes.
Lillian Perez Avila,
No.
Karen Chapman,
Yes.
Eddie Flores,
No.
Jacqueline Faust,
Yes.
Roseanne Faust,
No.
Lynette Garcia is absent, Mark Hayslip, Nathan Healy, Dana Johnson is absent, Daniela Jonditude,
No.
Julie Lind,
No.
Monica Mija,
No.
Ileana Rodriguez is absent, George Smith, Kathleen Wheeler,
No.
Kimberly Wu.
No.
All right, I have 6.
Thank you very much, Karen, for bringing these forward. So, George, I'm going to turn it over to this one, and this is regarding a separate section of veterans. Now, I'm going to make a suggestion to this one because veterans are very near and dear to me. I'm married to one. I have a daughter and son-in-law who are both veterans, so it is personal. Where I would ask that it be considered in not a separate committee, but we already have a committee, Human Rights and Equity Commission. And I was thinking veterans, I know there was a discussion 2 weeks ago about seniors in our community. I know there's been conversations, LGBTQ I plus. So I thought maybe that be an existing subcommittee where this could fold into. So, yeah, I mean, how do we, is it just a motion to move that? Okay, so that's a motion and second. So that idea of veterans, and I would add seniors and other groups that would fall under that. And that would be really for I'll talk about who's on what subcommittees after, but that would be we have Monica, Dana, and Kimberly. So I'm going to make a guess that George would join that one as well, and other folks that may want to. But so we have a motion and a second on the table, which is to take this idea and move it under an existing subcommittee. So if we could vote on that.
Thank you. Tom Adams. Vote Amile.
Yes.
Lillian Perez Avila.
Yes.
Karen Chapman.
Yes.
Eddie Flores.
Yes.
Jacqueline Faust.
Yes.
Roseanne Faust.
Yes.
Lynette Garcia is absent. Marquez Loop. Nathan Healy. Dana Johnson is currently absent. Daniela John Datu.
Yes.
Julie Lind.
Yes.
Monica Mija.
Yes.
Ileana Rodriguez is currently absent. George Smith. Kathleen Wheeler.
Yes.
Kimberly Wu.
Yes.
All right, 15 yes. So motion passes to fold this into an existing subcommittee.
Thank you for allowing that amendment or suggestion, I should say. Okay, we are moving on to Daniela's suggestion, which is to augment board, committee, and commission information within the charter. There is a resolution and there are policies currently. This would then embed this into the charter. Yes. So I would need a motion in a second and then discussion. So Daniela, is this something you want to move forward on?
No, I think I brought this up because a lot of people had concerns about the job of commissions and boards, and it was like a way to ensure that that will be reviewed somehow, all the needs of everyone. But if it's not something that the committee wants to address, it's totally fine.
Okay, so then we will kind of work separate and apart from making it a charter committee. Or
It's up to the committee. I mean, I just, it came out of that idea of everybody talking about commissions. We have 44 commissions and everybody was bringing ideas that pertain to commissions. So I thought maybe it's easier to board them all as one, as a whole. But if it's not something that the chair wants to review, totally fine.
The county executive's office does have staff that works closely with all boards and commissions, and they also are the ones that create the boards and commissions handbook. If Daniela would like, I would be more than happy to meet with her to learn more about some of the ideas, some changes that you'd like to make, and then include the appropriate staff to join us.
Thank you.
Daniela, because if you want to make a motion for the committee, as I've done in the past, I would second it. I'm not seeing a lot of discussion here in the room or online, so I'm thinking Rocio is offering a really good path.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's something that it came out as a concern because of what I saw in the last meeting. But if they don't have any concerns about how the boards and commission works, then that's fine. I mean, it's okay.
So, okay, George is going to make a motion to move this forward. Okay. And I'll second it. So at least we can see how the rest of everyone feels to study it. How does that sound?
I guess.
I have a comment, and is we already have a handbook, so I think that having the chart review, something that I brought as well like 2 weeks ago about having like deadlines and being more like qualified. We all agreed that it was more like an admin stuff, like not as much of like a charter item. So I think that like, yeah, it will be worth it to take a look to the handbook and see if like the things that are right in the handbook are like
accurate and the process are really like explained there, so everybody has access to it. But like I don't see how this will like fit on the charter. It will already have like a handbook. Yeah. Just
Daniela, you have your hand up.
Yeah, so it's already in the charter. It's not something new for the charter. And I think that even though we do have a handbook, I did review that handbook and sadly said it's a pretty poor, because when you don't even force an organization to have bylaws in order to run procedures and structure in an organization, then the expectations end up being what we have here. A lot of people concerned about things that are supposed to be supportive of the community. We have 44 boards and commissions, and most of them are addressing a lot of the issues that were brought to this table, like like environmental change, like seniors, like veterans, and all the questions that were brought here and the ideas that were brought here should be something that should be worked within boards and commission. I personally belong to a commission on aging, and the lack of structure ends up in, as a result, we don't have the support that we should have as a body that represents the community. The boards and commissions are different members of the entire San Mateo County represented in one table, and they should be looking at all the ideas that we're bringing here. The idea of looking at this was mainly to create that structure, and at the end of the day, making sure that our board of supervisors are putting attention, that we're putting attention, that there needs more structure. I know that at the end of the day, these are just recommendations and they can be varied or not taken, by the board of supervisors, but at least ensuring that we are actually looking at it and looking at the job that this commission should be doing, and instead of just letting people sit around a table with no guide, with no structure, with no procedures that organize for reals the job of the San Mateo County.
Thank you, Daniela. Julie has her hand up, and then I see Eddie Flores' hand up.
I think Lillian's point is well taken. This is, you've talked about differently resourced committees to a degree, enshrining a bit of checks and balances as you've talked about this, redoing handbooks. So Rosia has already offered to go through this with you. And I think that would be, to again echo our colleague, that would be the most appropriate and probably the most effective way to address it, because what you're talking about sounds like a variety of components within the handbook that you'd want to rewrite, and the charter wouldn't be the vehicle for that.
Thank you, Julie. Eddie?
Yeah, thank you, Daniela, for being a voice and being able to pick out where opportunity for improvement could exist. I just feel weird because I don't have experience being on a commission or board county level. You, of course, you are a commissioner. I think this work and feedback needs to come from commissioners themselves, or maybe the chair of each commission. Maybe there's a vehicle and a process, Google form, collect feedback, that sort of stuff. And that's more in their purview, working with the county executive's office, and then they get together in a meeting and they work through what they want to see or modify, and with the county attorney's office too, in terms of the bylaws component. But I don't know that we are experienced enough to dive into it in this short amount of time. I think this takes a longer than 3, 4, 5, 6 months, right? And it could be something that benefits all commissions across the board. But thank you for your sentiment, but I think that could be a better vehicle to address this work.
Thank you, everyone, for the conversation. We're gonna, we have a motion and a second, and now we'll call for a vote if this will be a subcommittee created.
Tom Adams?
I'm not clear. I'm sorry. I'm not clear exactly what we're voting on after all this discussion. Could you tell me?
So this would be a committee that will study supplementing section 414 of the charter, which is currently, let me just pull it up.
So the vote is just to send this issue to a subcommittee?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Vote Amive?
Yes.
Lillian Perez Avila?
No.
Karen Chapman,
Yes.
Eddie Flores,
No.
Jacqueline Faust,
No.
Roseanne Faust,
No.
Lynette Garcia is absent, Mark Hayslip, Nathan Healy, Dana Johnson is absent, Daniela Jondatute,
Yes.
Julie Lind,
No.
Monica Mija,
No.
Ileana Rodriguez, currently absent, George Smith, Kathleen Wheeler,
No.
Kimberly Wu.
Yes.
I have 6, so it does not pass.
Thank you, Daniela, for bringing this forward. And I think the discussion has been robust. And again, Rocio is offering to meet with you, kind of go through it. I think there's been really good suggestions made about having some sort of polling of the different boards, committee, and commissions that exist at the county level and see what could be supplemented. So now I'm going to call for if there is any member of the committee that wants to revisit the 4 different items that came forth from the Board of Supervisors. There was some additional information tonight given on one, but if anyone wants to revisit those, now is the time. George?
Madam Chair, I have a question that by providing the head of the Board of Supervisors the title of mayor, is that going to provide them with what they're looking for? Is that going to give them the authority of the board when they're talking with other jurisdictions outside ours?
Generally, the mechanism for any individual to represent the county as a whole, or act as an agent, or be representing the entity, the formal mechanism to do that would be to delegate that authority from the Board of Supervisors. I think that, as suggested, this would be more symbolic. It would be more about enhancing stature, influence, things like that, not through formal delegation of power, but just through the importance of the title of that position, is my understanding.
So you're supporting that?
My role is not to.
Never mind.
Lillian?
Yeah, I have another question, because I think that I asked the same on the first meeting, and this will be only for like the president of the Board of Supervisors, or like all supervisors, just the president, right? The board, okay. To mayor / president.
And to clarify, just to emphasize what I reported tonight, is that that is what's currently done in the county of Los Angeles through ordinance. And so there's an ordinance that says that the board president is referred to as the mayor.
But it's through an ordinance. It's not through the county charter. So I want to be clear on that.
Sir, I have another question. Like, you will change the influence that the president of the Board of Supervisors will have in other jurisdictions, in other,
So I'm working with limited information. So I'm trying to report as best I can my understanding of the suggestion. I think that what was done in the county of Los Angeles, I think part of the sort of the impetus for that change was because the county of Los Angeles, relative to other local agencies in that area, such as the city of Los Angeles and other regional partners down there, just typically did not have the same oomph, for lack of a better term, in conversations with those other regional partners. And so I think part of what the county of Los Angeles wanted to do was just try to again, to elevate the stature of at least one of the prominently publicly engaged and facing members of the board, which is the board president, who has certain responsibilities with respect to running meetings, is often seen as representative. But I think that was the source of the suggestion, was based on that model in LA, which again was because the county was just not seen as a co-equal in its discussions with other regional partners.
So Mark and then Julie, and I see Eddie has his hand up.
Right. I have to confess that I received a phone call from Supervisor Mueller, I believe it was last Wednesday, on this very topic, where he expressed the precedent in LA County for the term mayor. I share George's view that no matter, it's like putting lipstick on a pig. Okay, it's still a pig. Well, okay. The situation is this: is that I totally understand the position that the president of the Board of Supervisors, if they actually do the negotiation with other jurisdictions in areas such as MTC, the negotiation of the tax revenue situation with Samtrans and the other transit bureaus, and on various other regional aspects, may not have the same weight as the mayor of San Jose or the mayor of San Francisco. However, the mayor of San Jose is elected citywide for 4-year term, and I believe Lori received 189,000 votes. The mayor of San Jose, I believe, received somewhere around 144,000 votes and was elected citywide for a 4-year term. The president of the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors is elected by 4 people, okay? And it's for a term of 1 year. Now, is that the same position as the mayor of San Francisco or of San Jose? I don't think so. The 4-year term mayors have a mandate and they run on a platform. The Board of Supervisors, I've always looked at it like a rotating honorary position, as is the mayor in many of the cities up and down San Mateo County, that it's your turn, supervisor or council person, to be the mayor for such and such a year. And I believe that if we need more juice in order to negotiate these particular items, we have to have a basic structural change. And perhaps it's the county manager, or excuse me, it's now the county executive, should be empowered, or like the head of the Federal Reserve, under a 4-year or a 5-year contract with the full authority of the board to negotiate these things. Then you've got the same kind of, I think, oomph on the regional levels that the mayors do. But I think just giving the Board of Supervisors, without any structural change, a titular boost, if it's even a boost, is it's illusory.
Thank you, Mark. Julie, and then we have Eddie, Monica, and Kimberly.
Briefly, as Mark covered a lot of it, though framed a little differently than I might have, to clarify, I appreciate coming through things with different lenses. For Vice President Mueller, I think that was his point, because we so often get treated as a flyover county because we don't have an Oakland or a San Jose, especially with all of these weighty issues and having to advocate on so many things, wanting to be treated with the oomph, to utilize your word. But I think that's what he's trying to do.
Thank you, Julie. So Eddie, Monica, and Kimberly.
Thank you. Mark, I completely agree with you. My role is representing cities. I will tell you that from the 20 cities here in San Mateo County, there's 4 that have the mayor for more than 1 year. 2 of them have elected mayors, City of Belmont and City of San Bruno. And the two others, they rotate, but it's for 2 years, Hillsborough and Redwood City. Uh, all others, they rotate, I wouldn't even say a year. It's really more like 11 months. And to many of the points that Mark made, it's one individual that serves for 1 year as president of the Board of Supervisors. I think it might be different completely, and I interrelate through the League of California Cities with many mayors and jurisdictions in LA County. Just in comparison, it's city and county of LA. LA County has 9 million, population of 9 million, and it has 88 cities. We have 20 cities here in San Mateo County. There's also the mayor of LA, which we all know, right? Aside from the chair of the Board of Supervisors. I think things are not, it's apples to oranges here. But for the advocacy piece, I think we need to completely lean on our elected officials here in San Mateo County. We have double the representation in the state assembly and the state senate, which gives us more ability to amplify and be able to advocate both for policy as well as financially for our constituents.
Thank you, Eddie. So Monica and then Kimberly.
Yeah, I definitely want to echo. I think language matters, and otherwise we wouldn't be looking at the charter. But I have a hard time seeing how, like, just a title change without any legitimacy or any like legislative authority would change anything. And then, like Eddie said, they rotate. So I don't know. It's kind of a hard. Maybe I'm missing something here, but I think I don't know if just the title change will do much if they're not looking for anything other than just like, I mean, we're talking about just a title change rather than like giving them an extra power, if that makes sense.
Thank you, Monica. Kimberly?
Yeah, I echo what my fellow committee members Flores and Mejia have said. I'm curious about the political background or context about why LA County included that titular change. I feel that it's because LA represents both a city and a county, which might explain the distinction, whereas San Mateo County is not both a city and a county. While we do have a city named San Mateo, there are different legislative bodies on that end in comparison to like San Francisco and Los Angeles, which both are represented as city and county of San Francisco and city and county of Los Angeles.
Brian, you.
Yes. So I would just clarify that. So they're distinct local agencies in Los Angeles. So there is a city of Los Angeles and then an unincorporated county of Los Angeles. The San Francisco is a consolidated city and county, but Los Angeles are two distinct local agencies. And so, so the example that I gave does apply specifically to the county of Los Angeles.
So we've had a robust discussion. Is there any, Tom, you have your light on. Is there any desire to bring this forward? Does anyone want to make a motion and or a second to study this further? Okay, I am not seeing any. Tom, did you want to say something though?
Yeah, just very briefly. In 1976, the Board of Supervisors on a 3-2 vote approved development of certain areas on San Bruno Mountain. In the 1980s, when that started to actually happen, it was discovered that there were endangered species, butterflies, on the area that had been approved for development. One member of the Board of Supervisors, Ed Bachoco, led an effort to try to seek a compromise of all of that, which ended up with the nation's very first habitat conservation plan, a plan that was agreed to by 3 cities, 2 state agencies, and 2 federal agencies. And Ed led the negotiations through a multi-year process to achieve that. One of those years, he was the president of the board, and the rest of the time, he was just a member. But he was a member who dug into an issue and showed leadership and made a real difference and moved agencies at the local, state, and federal level because of his determination and how hard he worked the issue. It was never a title. It was all about hard work.
Thank you, Tom. So I think we have had the discussion on this, and not seeing any motion or second, we are going to reiterate. We have 5 subcommittees that have been agreed on. One was amended this evening, the Human Rights and Equity Commission, to take into consideration other groups. Some I've cited, but there may be more that the committee wishes to study. So I don't want to limit it, but it's veterans and seniors and LGBTQ plus, I plus, and anything else the committee wants to study. So that is where we are at. So I am going to move to informational reports from our 5 ad hoc committees at this point. Unless, do I need to call for additional, is there any public comment before we move on to item 7? Rocio?
My apologies. With regards to membership on these committees?
Yes,
Any
sorry.
changes need to be made?
So we, if everyone can have a look at the subcommittees that they currently are sitting on and who would like to be, I've taken the liberty of adding George to number 5, Human Rights and Equity, if that's okay. Are there other?
I would also like to be added to 5 if possible.
Okay, Jacqueline.
Me too.
Yes.
Thank you.
Was that Monica or was that Daniela?
Daniela.
I'm sorry.
Daniela.
Who? Kathy? Oh, Daniela.
Yes.
Okay, so
So-
Daniela would like, you'd like to be on number 5 too?
Yes.
And George and Jackie.
Is there like a limit of number of members that can be in each subcommittee?
I think there isn't a limit. Is there a cap? Less than
I think we
half?
were told
So-
less than a quorum, right? Like there couldn't be more than a certain, I thought there was.
Yep, so I can add Lilium to, do you want to be to 5? Okay, so Lilium is added to 5, so 5 is no more. Sorry, going once, going twice, we're done with number 5.
And Madam Chair, just because we do have a subcommittee that's pushing up right against the quorum limits, I just would like to emphasize for everyone, but especially for folks on that committee, that there wouldn't be any discussion about the subcommittee's work outside of that subcommittee. It would be presented in a Brown Act meeting.
I can drop myself if that helps the committee.
No, you can stay. It's just that the committee has to discuss within the committee and you just can't discuss it outside.
Yeah, and if I remove myself, would it be easier for the committee to work?
No. I'm getting like shaking of heads in the room, Daniela. So I think we're
Okay.
good if you want to stay.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back to, okay, so I'm doing it in reverse. How fun is that? I can keep my head on straight. Number 4, the row officer consolidation. We have Jacqueline Faust, chair, Tom Adams, and George Smith on that. Have any other folks that would like to join that? Okay, nobody's jumping up. Moving on to number 3, independent district lines. Kathleen Wheeler is chair, Mark Hayesloop, Karen Chapman, and Nathan Healy. Would anyone else like to join that? Not seeing any. Okay, moving to number 2, the annual review of board governance practices. Eddie Flores is the chair. We have Daniela, Lynette, Vu and Mark Hayslip. Anyone else? Kim Wu, would you like to join that one?
Sorry, I actually raised my hand for the Independent District Lines Commission.
Oh, great. Okay, so Kimberly, you're joining District Lines. We're adding you there. Thank you, Kimberly. So going back to annual review of board governance practices, any additions to that committee? Seeing none. And then procedures for board appointments. We have Ileana Rodriguez as the chair. We have Lilium, Julie. Do you have any additions to that committee? Okay, I think we are all set. That's great. Thank you, Rocio, for the reminder. So we are set. And then we will check in with the absent members tonight just to see. We will not offer them up, number 5. So we will offer the other 4 as possibilities. Okay, so now we have updates from the committees. So let's start with 7A, which is procedures for board appointments to fill vacancies in elected office. And I'd like to start this item by reminding all the committees that with our team, our staff, if they can assist with coordinating of schedules, any legal questions the committees might have, they have asked that please, if just the chair of each of the committees can reach out to the staff, the team, on behalf of the full committee. So it's coming from one source, so the chair of the committee. So there's not requests from individual committee members to the staff. That just gets confusing. And also, any additional research that needs to be done, that is the committee's responsibility. The staff, the team here that is supporting the charter review, they're happy to make soft introductions. And I use the term soft introductions to who you need to connect with at the county if there's questions. But the research is really the purview of the subcommittee. So it's not directing the staff to do additional outside research for you. That is something that is the committee's responsibility. So that being said, I'm going to go to Eddie Flores. Actually, no, it's Ileana Rodriguez is the first committee, but since she's not here, I don't know if Julie or Lilium have anything on the.
Lilium very generously volunteered me to give this report. So our committee met last week. We discussed there are 14 charter counties in California. Most of them have appointment procedures. We discussed the various pieces of them that vary somewhat widely, some of them leading the appointment to the governor, which we were unified in thinking was a very terrible idea. So we'll continue to look at these. We have Lena set up an appointment because she is perfect with Job Niblin and Michelle Kuka to go through some of the legal questions about the opportunities that we may have within the charter to expand upon the current procedures. So TBD, but we are moving along.
Thank you very much. That's a great summary. Thank you both for that. Is there any comments from the committee? Any questions on the report? Seeing no hands, nothing in the room, we will move on to Eddie. You are up for number 2, the annual review of board governance practices.
We've started email communications with the county staff team. Unfortunately, there was a scheduling issue, so we will have to poll the subcommittee members again in order to meet with the county attorney's office and HR and also Supervisor Corso. But in the meantime, I was able to, I want to thank county staff again for supporting on these asks. They were able to provide me with a resolution that the Board of Supervisors has already passed, authored by Supervisor Spear, in terms of board decorum, as well as some of the leadership language transitions when there's rotation within the board and becomes the president of the board. And lastly, I have samples of other board governance handbooks from other counties. So I'm compiling all this together, sending it to the subcommittee to review and have fun with those links and all that material. And like I said, hopefully next week we'll be able to get the scheduling of the meetings honed down and have our first full meeting with all these additional materials, as well as the conversation meetings with the county folks.
Thank you very much, Eddie. Another great summary. Any questions, comments, thoughts? Not seeing any. I'm going to move on to Kathleen Wheeler.
Yeah, good evening. Basically all that we've done to date is try to collate the internet searches, trying to understand what the rest of the state is doing with respect to this issue. Also looking for examples in their legal documentation as to how they specify redistricting committees, both advisory and independent. We lost one member, Jim, which was unfortunate because he was actually the chairperson of the last redistricting committee. So I suspect we'll go back to interview him anyway. So my next goal is to find a mutually agreeable time for the new committee to meet, and then pull together next steps and divvy out to-dos.
Thank you very much, Kathleen.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions, comments for Kathleen and or members of the committee? Okay. Seeing none, I am moving on to Jacqueline. Jackie?
Sorry, my voice is coming and going right now. So I've definitely pulled some information together and looked through some searches and reviewed some of the documents. We haven't had a chance to schedule a meeting yet. So that's probably a big priority to pull that together in the next week, and I'll work with the county officials. So not a lot to report, but hopefully a more robust discussion next time.
Thank you very much. Hope those, I can hear people sick, so hope everyone feels better too. I am moving on to Monica, and this is Human Rights and Equity Commission.
Yes, so excited to have more people join us. Same thing as Jacqueline said, we have tried to work with all of our schedules to come up with a meeting time. I have looked at all the charter and collected all the information and started doing some research and looking at all the things or getting a little more clarity around intent of scope and identifying like legal structural questions that we have so that we can have a better robust conversation in the next meeting. So I will be following up with those that joined today with our next meeting time and all the information.
Thank you very much, Monica. I really appreciate all the committee chairs and all of you that have been a part of a subcommittee or joined another one this evening. Thank you very much for that. I am opening it up to public comment at this point on agenda item number 7. Do not see any public comment. So again, thank you for the discussion this evening. I look forward to all of our continued work together over the next couple months, and I am adjourning the meeting at 7:04 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.